Why would Britain pack up ordinary farmers and ship them thousands of miles to Africa? It wasn't kindness, it was survival and control. Most people think the British Empire only sent soldiers, traders, or missionaries overseas. But farmers, that sounds strange, right? Yet Britain actually did it, and the reasons behind it reveal a lot about greed, fear, and power. By the late 1800s, Britain was worried. Its empire stretched across the globe, but holding it together was tricky. African lands, especially in places like Kenya and Rhodesia, were fertile and rich. The problem? Britain didn't want locals controlling that land, and they feared losing influence to rival powers. They needed loyal settlers, people who would work the soil and claim it in Britain's name. So the empire turned to farmers. Some were promised cheap land, others were lured with dreams of wealth and new lives. For Britain, it was perfect. Populate African territories with loyal citizens who could farm, defend, and civilize the land, at least in the eyes of colonial officials. But here's the twist: most of these farmers weren't rich landowners. Many were struggling back in Britain. Agriculture at home was collapsing under cheap imports, and thousands of rural families were desperate. Moving to Africa sounded like an escape from poverty. Of course, the reality was harsh. The land wasn't empty. It already belonged to African communities. Settlers often pushed locals aside, sparking conflicts that would shape history for decades. Plus, farming in a new climate was brutal. Diseases, drought, and isolation hit hard. What was sold as a golden opportunity turned into a fight for survival. Still, for the empire, it was worth it. Every farm built by a British settler meant tighter control of the land, stronger claims against European rivals, and more wealth flowing back to London. One of the clearest examples came in Kenya. By the early 1900s, thousands of British settlers had moved there, turning fertile highlands into massive farms. But this wasn't just about crops. It cemented British dominance. The farmers became the backbone of colonial society, and African resistance grew stronger because of it. What started as a solution for struggling farmers back home ended up fueling decades of unrest in Africa. So Britain didn't send farmers to Africa just to help them. It was about power, land, and keeping the empire alive. What looked like opportunity for the poor was really strategy for the powerful. Hit subscribe if you want more untold stories behind history's biggest moves.